Timothy Leary wrote a letter to Aldous Huxley in which he said, you know, we haven't really talked about sex on LSD. And Huxley replied, oh my God, we're in enough trouble. Don't let that cat out of the bag. Huxley liked women. He liked having sex with women, not just one woman, women. And he was a very smart man. He chose to marry lesbians. And they were, of course, as eager to have sex with women as he was, so he was able to accommodate his desires and a marriage and do. And he found that his wives were much better at getting rid of them once the interest had paled. So it was a smart thing to do. I had fears of when I dropped acid the first time. I thought I would lose my self-control and start groping guys and reveal myself to be an utter idiot. And of course that never happened at all. But what was interesting was one night in Ottawa, we were sitting there having a party, we were on acid. And a fellow walked in and he was sitting next to me and he was stark naked, and I just whipped over and gave him a blowjob out of the blue. And that was the first time that I actually did that without choking to death. And it just came, boom, it was an amazing experience. I was quite astonished just doing it in public like that with people watching. But also amazed that I just finally got that thing right. And then in Rochdale, of course, everything was, once I got back to Toronto from Hollywood and got my program reestablished, I walked into the office of Peter Turner, who I'd met when I first met Judy Merrill, told me I wanted to be part of Rochdale. Peter said, what can you do? I said, I'll give you a film program. Peter said, then you're director of cinema studies. And that's how I launched my film program at Rochdale. And again, the dealers were always cash poor, so the admissions was by donation, so they'd make a donation of product, and I would pass on the hash and the grass and the rest, but the acid I kept for myself. And this friend of mine, Dirty Dan, ran the second floor store, and he asked if I would take over the store one night for him so he could take his wife out, so I did, and this really beautiful Italian girl showed up. She walked in and everyone just went apeshit over her. I said, oh, you're ugly as sin. So naturally I was the one she decided she wanted to get it on with. And we got together. She was the first woman I got it on with. She played Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. She had a baby boa constrictor that she kept in a cage. It was a pretty remarkable night. It was raining out. I got pretty serious about her. I thought I might marry her, but that turned out to be not what was going to happen, and a good thing too. But one night we dropped acid and we had sex, and I was amazed that I could keep it up tomorrow. It was insane. But every time I came close to having an orgasm, my brains would just boom, flit off into some other space. And we got it on all night. I mean, just banged away at her all night, non-stop, and finally just gave up because it wasn't going to happen. We never, ever had sex again after that. That was too much for anyone to have to go through. But it was, you know, the whole sense of feeling, of touching of another person's body, of touching another person's flesh, having them touch my body was electric. I'd never encountered anything like it at all. One of the problems that we have in our culture is we take the most intimate act that we can commit between two people, and the most important act, because out of it comes new life, out of it comes a whole new way of seeing things. When we exchange ideas, we learn so much. As Judy said, we don't really learn in conversation after sex. And when we refer to sex, it's always, in many cases, dirty. Stories are dirty, 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 dirty. There's nothing dirty about it at all. But that's something for each person to deal with. I had, as a young man, my mother sent me down to apply for a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken in Sault Ste. Marie. I was around 16. I didn't want the job. I did my best not to get it. Naturally, they hired me, and the driver came in and he said, that bitch never washed herself out once in her entire life. And I said, what? He said, that bitch never washed herself once in her entire life. I said, what? This goes on for a bit. And finally he says he just got married and he went down on his wife and she was full of salt. And I thought, oh, that's fucking disgusting, man. I don't want to ever do that. And then there's this one girl who started coming to Rochdale, and she was a stripper, and she was really hot. At that time, it was illegal for strippers to flash pink, and she would flash pink, and everyone was trying to get it on with her, and I decided I wanted to get it on with her. So I just watched her, and let her, we became friends, and she took me home one night, and we were having sex, And she said, go south. And I didn't even stop to think about, oh, this is disgusting, I'm never going to do that. It was in the throes of the passion, we were both high, and I just went south, and when I went south I didn't want to go north. I was amazed at just how beautiful it is to spend time between a woman's legs and to pleasure her that way. It was again, something that I had not expected to do, and when I did do it I found myself enjoying it immensely, to the satisfaction of the person that I was with. The great thing about acid is that it seems to take whatever conflicts and problems that I had over a time period, and without my really being aware of it, it would come to a solution. I used to do acid a lot because I enjoyed the experience of getting high, and then I thought I would experiment with letting the trip play out. Like people think the trip lasts 8 hours or whatever, 12 hours. It doesn't. It changes this. And I thought, well, instead of doing acid real fast again, I'm going to let this trip play itself out. So gradually I started doing it once every couple of months, and then once every 4 months, and then once every 6 months, and then once a year. And now I look forward to doing it whenever somebody offers it to me, but it's not really a big thing, because from the beginning what I did was I realized, as I said, when this person lied to me, and I could see that they were lying to me, that this is an important gift to keep. And I looked at whatever things I learned and developed and saw on acid, how to keep those as part of my normal everyday today state. So as I speak to you now, I haven't done acid in at least a year, but my frame of reference, mind, openness, everything is still in that state of mind that I would get into when I do acid, so that I'm receptive, ready to receive, ready to welcome, and this is what life is all about. We have, many people have to pass through life without having anything really exciting happen to them, and around here excitement comes in a heck of a lot. I'm constantly meeting new and vitally interesting people. People asked if you ever had a bad trip. I had one bad trip. In the beginning, when I started doing acid, I did everything you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to do it alone. So I did it alone. I love doing acid alone. You're not supposed to do it in a dark, empty room. I did it in a dark, empty room. I promptly got scared and tried everything I could think of to stop being scared. And then I realized, you flippin' idiot, you scared yourself. And I started to laugh, and then the fear went away. But when I was up in Hollywood, that young man that I went home with, who bought the projector, and that's where I discovered the copy of the I Ching, he had some acid, and I wanted to do it. And I said, well, let's do it. And he says, no, I don't want to do it. I have nothing but bad trips. I said, well, I have nothing but good trips. If you have a bad trip, I'll help you. And he goes, okay, so we dropped acid, and I had the only really bad trip I've ever had in my entire life. I had hands coming out of nowhere, I had demonic figures, I had oppression, depression, I had blackness, the glooms, you name it, I had it. I couldn't believe. I thought, my God, your trips are usually good. This is horrible. What's this trip like? So I said, what's your trip like? He goes, oh, it's beautiful. I've never had a trip like that. And I thought, son of a gun, we switched trips. Well, I told him I would help him, so that was okay. It took me a while to work that out. It wasn't an easy thing to do because it was his. But, I got through it. You want to build muscles, you lift weights. And, if you want to build spiritual muscles, you lift spiritual weights. Instead of allowing these things to crush us and overwhelm us, we can use these things to help us grow. If the earth that we walk on did not oppose us, we'd sink through it. And opposition is a foundation. We can use it to make ourselves stronger, and it's a good way to handle this kind of thing. Anyway, I've talked for quite a long time here, and I think it's time to just pull down the curtain on this. But I chose to put the talk on video so that, because I give it every week. You're welcome to stick around and we can have a dialogue. You can talk about your own experiences, or you can ask me questions, and be pleasure to get more close with you. So thank you for coming out. It's been a pleasure to do this for you. I look forward to hearing what you have to say after this is over. Thank you. Cheers.